Every flight has a mystery baked into it. Two passengers buy tickets on the same plane, sometimes on the same day, sometimes even on the same website, and they end up having completely different experiences. One boards calmly, stretches out, and looks mildly satisfied with life. The other gets wedged between elbows, knees, and someone eating a hot sandwich at 30,000 feet, wondering what they did wrong. Most travelers assume this is random. Bad luck. Timing. Maybe karma. Airlines are perfectly happy for you to believe that, because the truth is much more uncomfortable. Seats are not assigned randomly. Comfort is not accidental. And the people who end up with better seats didn't get lucky, they got sorted. Today we're pulling back the curtain on how airlines actually decide who gets better seats. Not what they say in marketing emails. Not what loyalty programs imply. What really happens behind the scenes, from the moment you search for a flight to the second the boarding door closes. If you've ever looked around mid-flight and thought, why does everyone else seem more comfortable than me? This video is for you. Welcome to Passport Pointers, where we turn travel chaos into common sense, airline nonsense into strategy, and hidden systems into smarter trips. No fluff, no brochures, and no outdated advice. Just honest travel insight that actually helps you fly better. The first sort, how you're labeled before you ever pick a seat. The process of deciding who gets better seats starts long before you see a seat map. In fact, it starts the moment you search for a flight. Airlines don't just see a person looking for a ticket, they see behavior, history, patterns, and probabilities. When you search, the airline notes how flexible you are. Did you check multiple dates or just one? Did you search nonstop flights only, or did you accept connections? Did you immediately choose the cheapest fare, or did you linger? These signals help airlines predict how price-sensitive you are and how likely you are to pay for comfort later. Once you book, the sorting accelerates. Your fare class matters more than most travelers realize. Two economy tickets are rarely equal. One might allow seat selection, flexibility, and upgrades. Another might lock you into limited options that quietly reduce your comfort later. Airlines don't advertise this clearly because confusion works in their favor. At this stage, you haven't chosen a seat yet, but the system already has an opinion about you. Are you someone who might pay later? Are you someone who won't? Are you someone who needs to be kept satisfied? Or someone who can be squeezed a little without complaint? This silent labeling shapes everything that follows. Seat maps are negotiations, not information. Most travelers treat seat maps like a menu. You look at what's available, pick the best option you're allowed to choose, and move on. That's a mistake. Seat maps are not neutral representations of availability. They are dynamic tools designed to influence behavior. Airlines intentionally block seats early. They leave gaps that make the plane look fuller than it is. They reserve certain rows not for passengers but for flexibility. This allows them to manage weight balance, last-minute changes, crew needs, and upgrades. To you, it looks like scarcity. To them, it's leverage. When you see only middle seats available, the system is often nudging you toward paying for an upgrade. When you see preferred or extra legroom highlighted, that's not just a feature, it's a psychological anchor. Once you've seen what comfort looks like, your current seat feels worse by comparison. Who gets access to better seat options earlier depends on how valuable the airline believes you are. Frequent flyers. Passengers who paid more. Travelers who historically upgrade. These people see a different seat map than budget-focused travelers, even if they're on the same flight. Why boarding order quietly changes your seat experience? Boarding order is not just about efficiency, it's about control. Airlines board certain passengers first, not only to reward them, but to lock in seating outcomes before chaos sets in. If you board early, you secure overhead bin space. You settle in without pressure. You're less likely to be moved. If you board late, you inherit whatever problems haven't been resolved yet. Full bins. Seat conflicts. Last-minute swaps. Who boards early? Not just elite members. Passengers who paid for flexibility. Passengers who chose seats early. Passengers who fit into categories airlines want to keep happy. Boarding order is one of the clearest indicators of how the airline ranks you. This matters because many seat changes happen during boarding. Families are rearranged. Weight balance is adjusted. Problem seats are reassigned. The earlier you're seated, the less likely you are to be affected by these changes. Late boarders are more exposed. They're easier to move, easier to squeeze, easier to inconvenience without backlash. The role of complaint history and behavior. Here's something airlines will never admit publicly. Your past behavior matters. Not just your spending, but how you interact with the system. Passengers who complain professionally and consistently are flagged differently than those who never speak up or who complain aggressively. Airlines track interactions. They know who escalates calmly and who creates scenes. Guess who gets treated more carefully? If a gate agent needs to move someone, they are more likely to choose a passenger who is unlikely to resist. Quiet compliance is convenient. Assertive calm is respected. This doesn't mean you should become difficult. It means that being invisible does not always work in your favor. Airlines also remember who accepts changes without question. These passengers are often seen as easy. Easy passengers are less protected when comfort decisions are made. Why solo travelers often end up better off. One of the quiet advantages in seat assignment is traveling alone. Solo travelers are easier to move, easier to upgrade, easier to accommodate. If business class has one open seat, a solo traveler fits. If a row needs balancing, one person is simpler than two. This is why solo travelers disproportionately benefit from last-minute upgrades and seat improvements. Couples and families are harder to move without disruption. Airlines avoid touching them unless necessary. This often leaves solo travelers as the beneficiaries of flexibility, or the victims, depending on timing. Knowing this allows you to position yourself strategically. Flexibility, when communicated calmly, can work in your favor. How timing at check-in affects your seat. Check-in timing is another sorting mechanism. Too early, and premium seats may still be locked. Too late, and you're stuck with leftovers. There's a window, usually within the first few hours of online check-in opening, where airlines release seats that were previously held. These seats don't go to everyone. They go to passengers who appear engaged, flexible, and attentive. Refreshing seat maps during this window often reveals sudden availability. This isn't magic. It's inventory management. Passengers who never check back miss this entirely. Passengers who assume their first assignment is final leave value on the table. Why some passengers are never asked to move? Have you noticed that some people are never asked to switch seats, even when chaos unfolds around them? That's not coincidence. Passengers with certain fare classes, status levels, or seating histories are effectively protected. Moving them creates more risk than reward for the airline. Complaints, compensation, loyalty damage. Other passengers are considered low risk to move. They are asked politely, often framed as a favor. Over time, these passengers become default solutions. If you are always the one being asked, the system has learned something about you. The myth of randomness. Airlines benefit from the idea that seating outcomes are random. Randomness discourages strategy. It keeps passengers passive. In reality, airline seating is a layered system of incentives, predictions, and risk management. Every decision balances comfort against cost, satisfaction against efficiency. The better your profile fits what the airline values, the better your seat experience tends to be. How to use this knowledge without gaming the system. The goal isn't to manipulate or deceive, it's to understand the environment you're in. Pay attention to fare rules, not just prices. Check seat maps more than once. Understand boarding order. Be calmly assertive when needed. Signal flexibility without surrendering comfort. Most importantly, stop assuming that outcomes are luck-based. Once you understand the system, you can move through it with intention instead of frustration. Once you see how airlines actually decide who gets better seats, it becomes easier to stop taking bad outcomes personally. The system isn't punishing you. It's optimizing around you. The more you understand how it works, the less control it has over your experience. Comfort isn't random, it's managed. And now you know how. Watch this next to avoid the most common travel mistakes. Thanks for watching Passport Pointers, and I'll see you in the next video.